Howdy, all you delicious people. I'm here today to review season 5 of Heels. So, good grief. Like, they put just like Thomas Spade in this episode, and you can tell that like Thomas is like just like his dad in this episode, just like Steven's character Jack Spade. You can just kind of tell that Thomas was to eventually just spit out all this story and to get people really excited about this whole product through the eyes of a kid. And that was the interesting part of this episode, was just that little tiny bit of whatever. To kind of have Thomas kind of left out in the left out to like figure out what the heck is even going on. And because they kind of use him sparingly in this episode, because you have to. It's hard to use kids during shows because certain kind of rules and regulations about that whole thing. But also, going into this episode, I really thoroughly just was like, man, like the way that they're working the angle of the new relationships brewing between Crystal and Bobby Pin, and of course Ace and his new girl that he was to have be bartendered at. I don't quite know her name yet, but eventually I hope we'll get there. I'm Trisha? Is it Trisha? Could I be wrong about that? I probably am. And if I'm right, good for me, because I scroll through IMDb good enough, I guess. So, going into this episode, man, like this episode gets me excited for the following season. I've been seeing a lot of promotions for Heels through Facebook memes and a lot of stuff. I've been seeing a lot of trailers and stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, freaking build up this show. Like, yeah, get everyone excited about it and freaking get a lot of like people wanting to eventually get into just like, hey man, give me some more Heels eventually when you guys can, because this is a difficult show to shoot. Heels is such a good show. Like, we're 5 episodes in, and like they're writing things better than how I can think of. It's like I was just thinking that Wild Bill was just gonna end up as some manager, but it seems like there's more going on in this episode. I'm like, yeah, freaking yeah, like freaking Wild Bill is kind of like establishing dominance, so to speak, in this episode. Really just going in and just saying that he could be a big draw for this promotion. And Jack is just like, no. Like, no. Like, you're too much of an a-hole. I don't want to work with you. You're difficult to work with. No, kind of thing. So, Wild Bill is just like, hey, let me work with you. And Jack's like, no. But then eventually, push comes to shove. And then it makes for a very interesting episode. So this gets me excited for season 2, because already feeling like this show is already over. No, it's not. We still have 3 freaking episodes to go. But I'm hoping in season 2 there's a tag division. I've already said that. I apologize if it seems like I'm saying that to death. It seems like we're almost close to having females wrestle. Yes! Yes! It seems so close. It feels like we're almost going to have like an intergender freaking tag match here somewhere, because like forcibly how they kind of set things up. And they gave Crystal her spotlight in this episode. Yeah! Freaking great. Crystal had a promo in this episode. I'm like, heck yeah. Like, that was freaking awesome. And like, it'll be interesting where they go with that, or where they eventually just be like, okay, well, you're in the doghouse because you like you went into business with yourself, or for yourself, or whatever that goofy thing of it is. And it almost feels like there were some people almost going into business for themselves in this episode, but then they decided to do something right. God, Rooster is such a good character. If anybody is to not get enough credit, I think Rooster is to give Really great performances through every episode. Um, I'm hoping and waiting till eventually he gets his push, and it'll be exciting to see when that happens because this story has been building through a bulk of episodes to get this character a push and a belt and whichever. Uh, but we'll eventually see how that all plays out. So Thomas Spade being introduced in this episode was a really fun kind of change of things. We also have that dynamic of having a kid in the room consistently, where like people are gonna have to start to like PG themselves, so to speak, but then they don't realize that Thomas is actually there, and so they're like, "Whoops, sorry, kid," and the kid is like, "Dude, I've heard this stuff all the time. Like it's okay." Like it's interesting to just have that dynamic because like the weight of the show kind of shifts, and all of a sudden it starts to like have us remember that this could almost be a family show but not really. Because there's too many like half-dressed women in this show, or there's a funny moment where Willie Day is to mention to Crystal, it's like, hey, nobody needs to see some nipples, this is a family show, forcing Crystal to now have to go and get a new wrestling outfit, which I'm like, yeah, how is it that any of these wrestlers can afford any of these outfits? Because like I'm assuming they don't get paid a lot, so I'm assuming getting gear on their own time or their own wallet is got to be the most like difficult thing to be able to do. And now we can understand like even Crystal now having to bet on I think baseball or something that she can hopefully get her like new gear, which it's like, yeah, when probably looking at like even the biggest like promotional things, like there's a lot of times where a lot of wrestlers have to pay for their own gear or have to be able to have their gear being done at the last ditch minute, which is just kind of severely annoying. Like there was one Royal Rumble where Batista's like boots had broken, so like right before he was to go out in his Royal Rumble match, they had to like sew in his boots so he could go out there and wrestle his Royal Rumble match. When eventually he came back injured that while ago. When, anyways, pushing on. So I thoroughly enjoy this episode. So really, the big part of this episode is to have Jack Spade go on and try to get this state fair deal and desperately try to get his promotion out to the masses, like to eventually have a good rotation of people coming in to find out about DWL. And so that is to also be a bulk of the story, as well as the two relationships going on with Ace and his new lady, and Crystal and Bobby. So that's the big part of this episode. And Wild Bill is to also be a big thing in here, where he is to mention that he is to where he's to go here is kind of the focus of this episode also. So with that said, I think that it's that customary time to otherwise say that it is about spoiler time. Spoiler time. It's about the time we do spoil this episode. So, I know I'm going to be all over the place with this review. I have a feeling that I'm going to have that kind of like all over wrangle. I'm going to try to wrangle myself back in to really focus on here. So, I think the one thing that I want to focus on is Jack going on and, of course, doing his morning jog or his morning run. And so Wild Bill is all of a sudden driving beside him. It's like, hey man, you shouldn't be running. It's just gonna be bad on your hips and bad on your knees and like, yeah, like just imagine freaking like uh just having to do like a daily walk and then have to do like all these like huge ridiculous uh uh lifting of stuff like table saws and pool tables and whatever. It gets like just like, man, I just can't freaking walk anymore. I can't walk anymore. I'm just gonna go ahead and just lay on this chair and just be like dead for an hour, so I can rest my body. Like I understand what that's like. So, uh, and plus also I'm lazy, so it happens. Anyways, so Wild Bill is to talk to Jack, and Jack wants nothing to do with Wild Bill. Yeah, so Wild Bill used to be tied to King Spade. Good for him, but this company is under new management, and plus Wild Bill has become a person that is hard to deal with. And like I'm going to hugely paraphrase also this episode, so it might not be perfectly in line with everything. So Jack wants nothing to do with Wild Bill, so Jack just walks off. So Wild Bill just had to get back into his car and figure out where his next destination is. So it seems like Wild Bill is to get back with his promotion, but also just not. It seems like he's really just heading to DWL, because Wild Bill is to tell Jack that he can help him promote the DWL. And Jack is like, I'm not going to get into business with you. Like, no. Uh, but anyways, so, because it seems like Wild Bill continues to whisper sweet nothings into some people's ears, whether it's Ace in one other episode to uh, just kind of really F up what's going on in DWL, or in this episode, it seems like Wild Bill is whispering sweet nothings into Crystal's ear, and then Crystal isn't exactly doing what Jack wants. And so it seems like there's always going to be this tug and pull if Wild Bill is to eventually come on to this promotion and continue to start like stirring up the pot, let's just say, to all of a sudden have people do whatever they want, to where Jack has no longer a control over the DWL, is what I'm assuming or assessing is eventually going to happen at some point. Unless he's to rein it in some other episode, which, again, Jack has been a character that seems very exhausted, and like I don't know if if he's going to rein all this in, or all of it's going to lead to this chaos that is just going to be like, what the heck is going on with my promotion? Like, why is it that all of a sudden, like, everyone is going into business with himself, so to speak, or business for themselves, I mean. So, uh, so, uh, we have Jack going on to eventually talk to these state fair promoters, or these I think it's called state fair promoters that are to eventually like ask about like what is to really go on, blah 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 blah. Thomas is with Jack, and so all of a sudden Thomas is to mention, kind of like play out what's going on with their promotion right now, getting actually the promoters fairly excited about this whole event. And Jack is to turn to his son and be like, wow, like, well, like, you know what, I couldn't have scripted any part of that moment of which he was to say, but hey, if you guys need any help in understanding what's uh, like going on with the promotion without having to do a point of showing you how the magic is made, so to speak, like how do I take the rabbit out of the hat? Like, I won't show you that kind of thing, but hey, like, ask me any questions that you want about my promotion, and I would be glad to tell you. Because like Thomas goes on this rant about what's going on with Ace, and how Ace is getting so upset that he ended up turning evil, and like they kind of go like Thomas kind of mentions what has been going on with the promotion, and I don't want to go through all of that. So eventually we start to have people working on their spots before the big show. We start to have supposedly now Ace is coming to Jack and mentioning, "Hey, like I have a new valet because I'm just like I just want a new valet now." And so all of a sudden, like the whole story has gotten adjusted of what's going on with both Bobby Pin and Ace, because now Ace comes to Jack and it's like, I want to change things. Like I have a new girlfriend, so she's gonna be my valet, no questions asked. You're gonna come up with some kind of story to get rid of Crystal and dump her off to the side, and then it's like Jack is like, okay. So Jack comes in with Crystal, tells her, like, yeah, you're basically going to get dumped, and this new girl is going to come in and valet for Ace. And you just see Crystal's heart just sink, of just like, wow. So, in other words, I might not have a job after this. And Crystal had to go and bet her check that she was to get her gear. And so because Crystal had started to have feelings for Bobby Pin and has been spending a lot more time with Bobby Pin, and Ace is seeing that, it's just like, well, I'm going to kill this girl's career because I'm an a-hole. In all honesty, that's what it feels like. No offense to Alexander Ludwig. Yeah, I'm saying that correctly. No offense to that guy. It's just that, like, that's what it feels like this character is doing. Um, but that makes him just, like, so much a person, like, okay, so you might hate this guy in the ring, and you might hate this guy, like, out of the ring, but you shouldn't. And Jack is also having to push Alexander Ludwig's freaking head into this, like, Pepsi thing, and just be like, you know what, you're an a-hole. Like, you are an a-hole. That's why I made you heel. And I'm just like, man, just this story is so intriguing, and God, are they building these characters up so good to where you're just like, you're forgetting about the whole, like, they're playing a role kind of thing. You're just so enthralled about how these characters are playing this out, and how, like, it's almost to seem like somebody's getting effed over somewhere. You're just getting so much more invested because of just the point where you are to have so many scenes with Crystal to almost feel like they're gonna rip the ripcord on Crystal, and then we're not going to see her again, and we're just going to be like, oh no, we want more Crystal now. Give me some more of that Crystal. So that seems also weird because it sounds like Crystal is also a drug, not Crystal the drug, Crystal the wrestling valet. Anyways, uh, so Crystal is just be like sunk and just be like, I just got new gear, and you're telling me all of this is over. What if she would have actually gotten gear to personalize herself to make it look like it is to fit Ace's gear, and then she was to just get her, like, her thing changed to now be working with Bobby Pin, and she didn't know that. And then she would be like, well... I just threw away all this money on this gear that I'm not going to be able to use now. Like, and I just luckily was to win at betting and gambling to try to get more gear, and now I have to bet even more to get even different gear, because F this. So we'll see where they go with Crystal's gear, and we'll see where they go more with this character. So transition. So, Wild Bill is to go on and have this press conference with his old promotion, mentioning that he is to maybe continue to start working with this new promotion and because I guess this is a place from up north. I wonder where north, like what north promotion is this? Because he said, I think they said some north promotion. I'm like, where is that? Is that could that be possibly Minnesota? Because I know Minnesota tends to have quite a bit of wrestling, like stuff here and there. But I know Minnesota's not like the wrestling state, but I know there has been some wrestling people that have come from Minnesota, like Molly Holly and Hulk Hogan. I think at one point came from Minnesota, but anyways, like it could be any northern promotion. Anyways, Minnesota guy, so that's why I said that. Anyways, so pushing on. So uh Wild Bill is to mention that he's going to go in a stint of rehab and then he'll be back with his promotion. And it seems like the other woman that is to be with him is like, you said what now? Like, I'm sorry. They already cut ties with him, so I don't know why he's trying to weasel his way back in or try to do some kind of press conference. He should have said that he was going to be um, like leaving this promotion, but I guess like he just said instead, it's like, oh no, I'll be back after a stint to rehab, I'll be back, which isn't really all that true because immediately Wild Bill, instead of going to rehab, he goes to DWL, and we start to see some autograph signings, some usual autograph signings that are to be done consistently outside of the dome. And so Ace is to go off and to go and take a leak, and so Wild Bill is to eventually just be roaming around, having big fat $100 bills that he has to go and get change from this woman to be able to kind of compensate him to get into here. And like, God, he looks such like a badass in this freaking episode where he's like walking in and it's freaking slow motion and everybody's just looking at him like, whoa, Wild Bill. And it's like, yeah, like, look at me. I'm like, God dang, freaking they do some good things. And when someone is to have a spot in this episode, man, they make them look really good. Like, that's, I think, like the one thing that it's like, man, they spend so much time on making certain characters look good. Like I like want to see like I want to also see some time spent also on other people also, uh but hey, because like I still don't know who, like after 5 episodes, like I don't know who Apocalypse is yet. I don't know who really Diego is. We got some time here with Diego, but not really enough. Like eventually I want to see these characters just getting used a little bit more, just see where it goes a little bit more with these characters, just so that we can get like a full like investment of like, oh, okay, I can like everybody on the show, because it seems like they're like sticking into certain kind of things. Like I think in the second season, I think a tag team thing, because I think I've kind of said this already, a tag team division will kind of help like well round like the entire cast, and I hope in season 2 they go into that. But considering season 2 tag team would make a lot of sense, frickin' hopefully we get some wild cards also in this division also, if they're going to build certain kind of divisions. Like it would be cool to see like a certain Undertaker style character or something like dipping into the supernatural realm where it seems like something so goofy or something so fun and whatever, just to kind of like break up the whole like, okay, we got this certain kind of character, this certain kind of character. Like it would be cool to just bring like maybe a tag team in that is to be like the Corpse Bros or something, and just have some fun with that, where like they're like supernatural like tag teams, and whichever, have some fun with that. But whatever. Anyways, pushing on. So the Corpse Brothers or whatever, the Corpse Bros, I don't know. Anyways, so pushing on. So we have Rooster and Diego working on their spots together. Diego, of course, is the luchador guy in the mask. If you guys didn't know, the yellow and silver, the yellow and white. So Diego is to practice a spot with Rooster where Rooster is to take the slam that Diego is to give him, and uh, like I don't know what that like he goes under the second rope and then kind of like jumps and kind of like body splashes onto Rooster. I don't know exactly what that move is called. I've seen certain kinds of people do that. Maybe like a Mark Henry, or maybe like a I don't know. Like maybe Rikishi might, I don't know. Like the kind of the heavyweight kind of division of characters at some point would do that kind of splash move. But anyways, pushing on. So Rooster is to just kind of like flail around, and he sells it really good. And then after that, they are to, of course, like figure out how to eliminate the Rooster, because supposedly they're going to be the only two left in the ring, and so Diego is supposed to win. But then eventually Rooster is like, God, like I'm going to lose another freaking match. And so, like, both Diego and Rooster are in the back, and Diego is just like, dude, I just want to wrestle. Like, I don't care who wins, who loses. Like, there's a lot of wrestlers that are just like that, where it's just like, hey, man, like, you get like Sting, that, like, Sting will tell you, like, dude, I never wanted the belt. Like, I just wanted to be just in the main event, or I just wanted to just be like have the spotlight or whatever, or I just wanted to wrestle my man. I didn't want the belt. Like, and that was the cool thing about Sting, where Sting was a guy that didn't care about the belt, and like that's what always made him like the face of a company whenever he was involved in it, because to him it was just like, dude, I just want to put on the best show. Like, I want to like fight the best wrestler, or the coolest wrestler. Like, I don't care like if like really I'm going to be like the best by holding a belt. Like, that didn't matter to me, or championship, whatever company you're involved in that has to say certain kinds of things. So Diego is to just say, well, hey, how about we just get this spot and I will fall over and I'll tell Jack that I tripped, so you have to forcibly win this match. Like, some guys are kind of doing business for their own and whatever, to just be like, hey, man, like, I don't want to win anyways. I don't really care. So here you go. This is going to be fed to you because evidently you want it more than I do. So, uh, so anything, Wild Bill is to be at that signing, and he is to make his way to Crystal, and while Ace is going off and taking a whiz, so Wild Bill goes off and talks to Crystal and is to mention, you know what, like this is your time. Like, you should be like you should have your spot. You should be demanding something now. Like, you should be demanding that you should have some screen time, so to speak. Like, I'm paraphrasing here, but like Wild Bill is just like, man, like you are just as good as any of these other folks. So if anything, and it kind of proves that in this episode, like Crystal is to like set things up the right way, because like uh, uh, Willie Day is to mention about this whole angle where they restructure it, and now they have to have photos of both Bobby Pin and Crystal Fair. And so Crystal's in the backstage, kind of really actually setting up this to look much better. Like, both Bobby and Crystal are actually having an affair, because Bobby just was like kind of like, it looks like they were like slow dancing for a minute there, trying to figure out what they were doing. And so Crystal just kind of really sets it up a lot better to have this be like something that looked a little bit better, looked a little bit more like ooh ah, like, even though you could probably not really make out all that well the photos, and Ace mentions that. And like, it's kind of funny because we are starting to much more also incorporate I want to try to get this correct. Debbie in here, because we kind of use her little blips and whatever, but it seems like she has a much more prominent role, especially in this episode. Especially when Debbie is talking to Wild Bill. But yeah, so Wild Bill is to talk to Crystal, say like, hey, like, whatever that they're gonna do, like, I think Jack is messing things up because he is planning all of this to the exact T, and that's a mistake. There's some times where it really has to be more kind of like shoot at the hip kind of thing. It has to be more improvised. It has to be more like unscripted because, and I think that's true, where I think Jack is to really tell everybody what to say way too often. It's like, take a cue from AEW, where AEW has it where it's like, hey man, go out there and just say whatever you want. Like, feel the crowd, and really just like come up with whatever you want. If you mess up, then hey, we'll just have you wrestle. We'll just have you wrestle, because if that's all you care about, if you don't want to promote or do a promo, we'll give you a valet, and that valet will be your mic piece. And so that's the whole thing of just like, that's what they should do here, is they should make it feel like it's not scripted, because obviously when Ace is to kind of deliver stuff, it does feel scripted. In all actuality, it doesn't feel like he's just shooting from the hip. And there are a lot of times where Ace is fighting with Jack about a lot of these changes, and it's just making for interesting television, like this whole back and forth debate about things. But really, it's just like, I want a moment where like we had here, where Crystal just goes off on her own in a cage match and just does her own promotion, and everybody's like, ooh, nice, because it's something different. And then Jack is just like, get the heck out of my ring, like, freaking get out of here. So Jack is to be the special guest referee of the Bobby Pin Ace match. And supposedly what was going to happen is, originally Crystal was going to distract Bobby so that way Ace could eventually get the win. But once Crystal kind of did her own business, all of a sudden the match changed and became way more aggressive, and a lot of the spots started to drastically change. And now all of a sudden, like, Ace is like mentioning to have like a superplex freaking off the cage, and I'm like, oh my god, like, this is dangerous. And like, Bobby Pin is like, dude, I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm like, oh my god. This is crazy. But it's like, I'm sure that these guys have been planning this for a number of weeks, months, whatever, to plan all of this out, I would hope, because it's a show. So yeah, like, this whole match in the cage was just freaking amazing. So to rein all this in, so let's get into the events. Let's get into the matches, and let's get into the State Fair people going, ooh, wow, ooh, I'm excited. So let's get into the matches, because I think I've covered almost everything with the exclusion of the hand job that Jack was to get from Stacy, and also Stacy talking to Wild Bill in the grocery store, because Stacy works at the grocery store now. And so Wild Bill was to confront Stacy about what's going on with the DWL and what's going on with Jack. And like, Wild Bill had this one hilarious moment where Wild Bill was to mention, like, hey, how do you think that your husband would feel if he knew that you were holding my pickle? Like, I was just like, I was dying inside at that moment, because it's like, God, like, Wild Bill, oh my God, that was freaking, like, the way that he just works freaking some lines, or the way that these lines are worked with Wild Bill, is such a funny thing. Like how, like Wild Bill was mentioned in the other episode about tagging with Willie Day, and now in this episode where Wild Bill is to mention about like Stacy holding Wild Bill's pickle. I was just like, God, I'm just dying. Oh my God, that was funny. Um, but yeah, so you have some like you have Stacy who's doing really well at this grocery store, to where like the one manager is coming in, is like, well, excuse me, like, are you buying for my job? Yeah, like it never really usually works that way in retail. Like, I'm sorry, usually nobody works up the corporate ladder of retail, and if Stacy does, I'll just be like, wow, like, you know what, it takes freaking a billion years to get anywhere in retail. Hence why some people tend to just go and just decide, you know what, like, I've been here for how long and I'm going nowhere, and I'm gonna get the same nothing pay. Uh, and plus, also, there was a spot where Stacy. Here's the crappy thing. So there is to be a glass broken situation of a pickle jar, and I don't know how many times that like things would get broken in a store, and they'd be like, hey, can you get the barcode of that broken jar of something, so that way we can eventually write that off as a thing that had been broken. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, are you serious right now? Like, I have to go and get this stupid barcode for you so that way you can write it off as just a, like, that would happen no matter what it is. Like, I don't know how many times, like, a full on gallon of milk, someone would drop a gallon of milk in an aisle, and just it's spraying all over the place because somebody waited like 30 minutes to let anybody know that there was a spilt thing of milk. And I'm just like, oh my God, like, let me get the mop and let me take an entire year doing this while I'm doing it by myself. Rationally, like, there should have been 3 to 4 people cleaning this up, but we don't have 3 or 4 people. So, yeah, what a garbage thing happens in that grocery store where you're just like, yeah, let me go and get a freaking a shard of glass so that way this product could be written off. Because that's seriously what they would ask me when stuff would get broken that had glass in it. I'm like, hey, no, like, I don't want to do that. Let me try to tear off this sticker to get you a bark. It's just stupid. People are stupid when they ask certain things. Moving on. Uh, so we'll get to the matches now. So there's another battle royal. We have, again, another guy named Luke Gallows that is to be seen somewhere in this match. Thumbs up to Luke Gallows. Again, he legitimately has a name in IMDb. Scrolling down to the bottom of it is to be Andrew Hankinson. Thumbs up to Andrew. Yeah. Freaking, we get Luke Gallows or Doc Gallows in 2 spots. Yeah. Freaking, yeah. So, we see Robinson like fighting with Apocalypse in this Rumble, this Battle Royal, whichever. And so I guess whoever, like, we just have these consistent Royal or Battle Royal spots because it's to always be the number one contender of things. I honestly would like a tournament rather than a battle royal, but that's just me. Like, freaking guys who love stuff like King of the Ring, like I do, freaking, I would much rather have a tournament than an actual battle royal. Battle royal just seems like, hey, like people really haven't seen this product that often, so like I think battle royals just get stale eventually, just because it's like you only do them in big events. That's why, like, WWE will do them once a year or whichever. But it is what it is. It's just trying to get everybody who doesn't probably have a lot of time in this Royal Rumble match, so that way they get their much more X amount of seconds of time. Plus, also you get some indie wrestlers in there that probably you wouldn't have been able to have seen on the show, which Doc Gallows. Anyways, so Pushing on. I made it funny. Not really. Anyways, so we're left with Diego and Robinson, and Diego is willing to do the whole tripping situation. But then eventually Robinson is like, no, man, like, I want to do it the right way. Like, you go ahead and you, like, take me out. I'm fine with it. And Diego's like, are you sure, man? And he's like, yeah, like, freaking, I'm not going to trick my way into getting this spot. This seems wrong. Kind of thing. Maybe that's what Robinson is thinking. So they do it right, and all of a sudden, Robinson is to head his way back into the back. And so Jack is to talk with Robinson about that whole situation. And so eventually Robinson is like, hey, what's my real name? And so eventually Jack is to mention all three different kind of names, because like Jack is to mention like, hey, like, I cut your check, so I know exactly what your name is, and I know what other kind of nicknames that you have for other people, because you go and you have a speakerphone all the time when you make phone calls, so I know what every name you're to be called and every different kind of thing. So like, and if you evidently want to talk about where your spot is here, like, we'll go and we'll do that. And so it's like, okay, so maybe this whole thing is going to get resolved. I would hope. So, and to have Robinson just much more happier character, I hope. So that's really what the important part of that is. So, uh, so now going into the cage match, which is the big enchilada. So while Bill is to be in the stands and just kind of watching on, because he seemed to have kind of worked his way into talking to Debbie, into talking to whoever, just be like, hey man, like, let me in here and I'll and I'll be a part of this show. And like Debbie's like, we'll give you some tickets. We'll give you some free tickets. You'll go on there, you'll sit out, and you just like, maybe you'll get some we'll get some good buzz by having somebody in the seats. So pushing on to the cage match. So Jack is refereeing this whole thing, and so we have Ace who comes out. We have Bobby, who I guess is already out there. Like, I guess he doesn't really ever need, like. So wait a minute. So we've had 5 episodes, and Bobby Pin, we haven't seen what his entrance looks like, but we've seen like consistently what Ace has been doing out there, whether he's like heel or face or whatever. So Bobby goes out there, and then Crystal goes out there, and you can just kind of see, like, they slow motion her down, just like, yeah, like, guess what I'm going to be doing. So Crystal goes out there, and so Jack is supposed to be doing this whole promotion and have these pictures and have everything. And so Crystal goes and just yanks the freaking microphone away from Ace, and she admits, she confesses that she's been having an affair with Bobby Pin. And then she just goes off and talks about how uh, uh, like Ace is a crybaby, and that Crystal isn't getting satisfied by Ace, and she has to get satisfied by a real man who's Bobby Pin. And so like Crystal's just going on, and also talking about of course Ace's valet, which gets Ace's valet out there. And so that just gets Jack to just be like, okay, you've had your 15, get the heck out of here, get out of my ring, go and sit where you're supposed to be. So Ace didn't have his promo time, so now we're just going to have a severely aggressive match between both Ace and Bobby Pin, to where Ace is calling everything, but man, is all this stuff really brutal, where Ace is just like, yeah, we're gonna be smacking and smashing and reversing and like all these things, and Ace is saying like, yeah, we're gonna have a superplex from out the top ring, and I'm like, whoa. What are you gonna get it like a super a Jimmy Snuka like fly off the top? Like good God, like let's kind of like let's be safe here. I don't want any freaking people to get injured. Good God. Like doing all these moves and stuff. I can understand it's like, hey man, we're being really safe and whatever is dude, freaking like anybody could just freaking hurt themselves. Good God. These episodes are getting really aggressive because like it's really good storytelling and people are like selling on it. They're like, yeah, this is exciting. Like, yeah, freaking pull no punches. This is aggressive story. And I get it. Like, it's really just to be like, yeah, we really, like, there really has to be some hard hitting moments here. And you really have to escalate things because of the whole story that had been built. So, yeah, like, this match is going to be hard hitting. But then, of course, it goes too far with, uh, of course, Ace going and having his, uh, like, it's not like I want to say it's like it's a single leg submission, of course, where it's just like you're like where like it's I don't remember what exactly submission that is, but I know it's like looks so weird. Because it's not a like a figure four because really there's no like legs being swapped around, but it almost looks similar to that. It looks like a single leg freaking like twist and turn and whatever. So it almost looks like the position of a figure four, but it's not like that whole kind of layout. But so both of these guys, like Ace is wrenching away at this, let's just say, uh, leg stretch. I don't know what the technical term is. Anyone can correct me. That's perfectly fine. Like I'm used to seeing like Boston crabs, or I'm used to seeing uh, Texas clover leaves or something like that. I'm not used to seeing whatever this maneuver is. It's been a while since I've seen it. Um, like I want to say it's like a single leg stretch or I don't know. Anyways, so they're in this submission together, and so all of a sudden Ace is to like Bobby into this submission, and so Jack has told Bobby to tap, and of course Bobby like taps because he's like freaking like this actually does hurt because Ace is actually putting me in this submission and he's going too hard with it. So Ace is going so hard at this submission that it freaking tears uh, Bobby's leg. Like, I'm assuming there was a bone that popped out, is what I think I saw. And I'm just like, oh my god, did he freaking, like, did he tear, like, something? Because I'm like, immediately, if I'm thinking, like, if Bobby is to, like, tear, like, any kind of, like, ACLs or what, like, he's gonna be gone forever. Like, and I'm just thinking that I'm like, yeah, freaking Bobby's injury is probably going to be one of those where he is going to be gone wrestling wise for probably the rest of the season. If not, then I'm just like, God, that's got to suck. That just like maybe maybe he'll be back by season 2, but good God, I'm just like, no, like we had this story. That was the one interesting story that was going on here. Let me reset up here for a second. That was the one intriguing story, and now we have nothing. Now we honestly just have nothing. I'm like, that freaking sucks. Like, I just wanted to see where this like rivalry was going to go, where all of a sudden, like, we were going to have it be that all of a sudden, like, forget about Jack's belt. Like, Bobby just wants to wrestle freaking Ace more because there's a rivalry brewing between two of them. And, like, maybe we'll get a spot if Bobby is to eventually come back. That eventually there's going to be a whole like rivalry brewing between these two, and it's not going to matter about the belt. and maybe that's how they're going to work it out. Maybe Wild Bill is going to eventually get to be in the main event with Jack, and then like we're gonna have a big rivalry between Bobby and Ace to just kind of like have that be the way to go about it. Unless like Bobby is to be freaking like injured, what are they gonna do next? Are they gonna push Robinson or Diego? I don't know. But anyways, so freaking Bobby is to actually be freaking hauled off by, I guess, fake paramedics because they were to supposedly almost use fake paramedics for the Royal Rumble match. So Bobby actually gets hauled off by these fake paramedics, and so Bobby goes out there and gets hauled away. And so all of a sudden, Wild Bill just goes and runs in the ring and is to mention like, "Hey, like I came back here and I'm just upset about all the things that these Spade brothers have been doing. Like, hey, when I was here before, when I was with Jack or King Jack, like freaking like all this was working out, but now that these boys are doing their job, it's like, man, I'm concerned about all." And so we have Wild Bill who is trying to win back the crowd from that shocking moment. And so I'm like, oh my God, like here, like this is so interesting when you have that big, huge moment. And so all of a sudden, Wild Bill is trying to win these people back and give them this promotion where it's like, hey, in the next thing that we're going to be putting together, it's going to be a triple threat between Jack, Ace, and Wild Bill for the belt. And so Jack goes and is yelling for his belt and for a microphone, and then he goes out there, and so like we really have a really good rivalry on our hands, supposedly, where like Jack is to mention how like Wild Bill probably doesn't have it anymore, like he still don't got it or whatever. So like when you would have all the older wrestlers sadly enough like, you still got it, you're like, who, me, him, everybody? Do they not got it? Anyways, uh so yeah, Jack goes out there with his belt and just like, you're on, like freaking main event, triple threat, like three-way or whatever, however they want to say it. So yeah, really not getting all the like the beat for beat words, but like getting the gist of it. So as to like pat myself on the back, like I've accomplished something today. Anyways, uh So Bobby Pin's getting hauled off to the hospital, and so everybody is now hanging out at the hospital, seeing what's going on. Bobby Pin is getting gassed and getting freaking his leg worked on. So eventually, Jack is to grab Ace and to be upset with him because of what had all happened. And Thomas is to see this whole thing, and Ace is to let Jack know, hey, freaking, like your son is here. And so Thomas runs off. And so all of a sudden, Willie is to go and give Jack the phone. And so Jack is talking to these promoters, and he's like, okay, all right. So Willie is to ask, like, hey, what's going on next? Like, what the heck is all going on? And so Jack is to mention that they've gotten to go and book these state fair deals. And supposedly, eventually, they are going to be able to open this up to supposedly 10,000 people, which will be interesting to see, like, how much bigger venues they can eventually accomplish when they're going to keep rolling with this. And it'll all be interesting to see also because I think they also forgot about something. They also forgot about the other promotion that's been also going on here, the Charlie Gully promotion. Like, what happened to that? Like all of a sudden they kept building to something, and then all of a sudden they just killed it off. Like I'm wondering if in maybe the other episodes are going to be focusing back on that, because like I'm just like, okay, like what happened to that? It seems that Charlie was to mention that, hey, like I'm not just gunning for his promotion. I'm already here. Like, so where did that go? If he's already here, then all of a sudden he vanished like a man of the night. Where is this guy to be now? Um, but yeah, we'll see where this all breaks down in future episodes. And so I'm hoping that I've covered everything, but I kind of did it in very vague like ways. But anyways, I'm really enjoying the show. It'll be interesting to see where next week plays out. And so yeah, really interesting. Hopefully Bobby has a quick recovery time, or otherwise we're just going to be seeing this guy in the second season somewhere. Uh, Maybe some certain time will have passed during season 1 and season 2. I don't know. But we'll see about how all this plays out. And we're also going to start to see where Ace's character is seemingly going. Whether he's not to be like, whether he's to just be like showing up an hour late, which happened in this episode because he's like, oh, I lost my phone. Or he is getting humped away by his girl, and that's all that matters to him, his new girl, and so on and so forth. Or like, how much is Ace going to start getting control of this company when things aren't exactly going the way that he wants? It'll be interesting to see how all that plays out in future episodes. But I think with that said, I think it's my time to go, get out of here. And plus, I've talked for way too long. Bye, everybody. Bye, everybody.